I was like so stoked in Paris, and I think quite a few things had to go right to get that result. But a lot of people watching were like, 3-second PR, like that's like just insane. Like you have to be like so shocked. And like I wasn't really shocked at that time. I knew like, yeah, I was gonna have to have the race of my life, but it didn't like blow my mind because I knew where I was at. And
I think people really could like make a change in their life here and now, that like once you do something you've never done before, you are that person. You aren't, it's not like it, you should consider it not a one-off. You should consider it like a character trait. We live in a complex and ever-changing world, a place that is maybe harder than ever to successfully navigate. The answer is surely to be brave, but it's also to seek and be open to guidance. Mentors are the one consistent through line in the lives of all accomplished people, myself included. So welcome to Mentor Buffet, a feast for those, like me, curious about who helped the most successful among us succeed.
I'm Cole Hocker. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I ran at Cathedral High School, and then went to Oregon, ran there for 2 years before signing pro for Nike. And 2021, I made my first Olympics. And then this past Olympics, 2024, I won the 1500 in Paris. And yeah, still just pursuing running. And now I've got a few more accolades to my name. I've kind of been using this line since you told me, but I ran into you like 5 days before the final. So
you were walking out of the village.
Yeah, I was dialed in.
I know. And when I saw you, I almost didn't want, you know what I mean? When you're like, do I want to?
No, I'm glad you did.
Okay.
But I do know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, I was like, yeah, I just had my headphones in and sunglasses on. And then you come up to me and like, I was like, who is this for a second? But then when I recognized you, obviously I was like lit. Like, but yeah, what you told me is you're like, it's all energy. You can either ride this wave or let it crush you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been like, since then in the races, I was thinking that and feeling it. And, you know, interviews, post-race, I've been reflecting on that just because like it is so true. Because that's how I felt the entire time. Like you can't prep for the like emotions that come up during the Olympics. I've talked to runners that have gone to this their fourth Olympics, and they'll say, I thought I wouldn't be nervous after my first one, definitely not my fourth one, but this might be the most nervous I've ever been. And so that just told me like, okay, well, there's no shaking the nerves and the emotions and all of that toll that's gonna, you know, weigh on you. So you might as well try to like harness that energy, because it is all just energy, whether it's negative, positive, everything that goes into it. And just, I kept reminding myself, okay, like just ride it out. Like, and I'm sure you can relate, but when it's finally time to race, everything you've worked for, it's like, oh, you should be so excited, but you can get to that line and be defeated and just want it to be done. And just kind of submit to, okay, let's do the race, and my result is my result.
When we ran into each other, we were talking about the fact that the Olympics, like not only is there a ton of unexpected stuff that happens, there's everybody's entire, like almost like they're all going through puberty all at once. And it's an explosion of you can't control anything. And people take that as reason why they're not going to do well. Or like you did, you took that as actual energy. And I love that you saw it as almost like a moving walkway. Like it is actually propelling you forward. It's not even just something to ignore. You actually stood on it and moved with it. That actually takes what I told you to the next place. Because I was like, be aware of it, take it as reason you'll do well. But you were like, actually, I'm going to like step on. It's like I don't know. I'm thinking about like a moving walkway of energy.
Yeah, the other thing you said was like avoid, you can get all these paper cuts on your nervous system.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I definitely understood that, because I think what maybe the average viewer of the Olympics might not think about is that it's the Olympics, and that makes it to where everything is different than every other race. Like I've raced hundreds of races in my life now, and probably close to 50 professional races now, and you'd think I would have it down, and that you get to the Olympics and you like get the gist, but everything's different. And if the training track is a 45-minute drive away, so you forget the right shoes to a training session, and you're at the Olympics, and you can freak out and just be like, oh, out of all places, I forgot my shoes. And there's so many little things like that can go wrong, and that are just different. And I think, the way you said it was a really good way of putting it, because that stuff adds up, and that adds to, getting to the race or the night before the race. And you have all these little things that you're kind of playing back in your head, like, oh, I wish I could do this. And why is it like this? And hopefully the call room time is the same as it was yesterday, because everything's so dynamic in the like kind of the preparation of the Olympics in general. But you kind of just have to stop hoping things are going to go your way, and just accept that this is going to be unlike anything I've ever experienced before. So just roll with it.
So there are 1,000 tiny paper cuts, but they only actually cut you if you let them. The things that happen are real, but the effect that it has on you is your choice.
Yeah. This race was, to anyone that's not a track fan, it's obviously best race of my life, extremely special to me, but it was also the Olympic record, the fastest any 1500's ever gone at the Olympics, and definitely the fastest opening 400, probably one of the fastest in the history of the event, just, at least on like the professional scene. So we were out incredibly fast, to the point where, Ingebrigtsen had the fastest seed going into it. And it was out faster than he's ever run. So we were out faster than the entire field has ever run, obviously including myself.
You know it?
Yeah. I guess I didn't know it until I did see the clock at 400 in, which, like, I'm not concerned about the time I finish, obviously, but I am thinking about, well, I saw the clock at 54. I might have passed through a little slower, but the leader was 54 seconds through 400 meters. And but seeing that, I think, okay, well, we can't keep this up. Like, it's just not going to you can't keep that up.
Is this the way your voice in your head sounds?
It does. I'm adding more words to it now, obviously, but I don't know. There's all these little like micro decisions that happen. But I guess right before the 400, I was separated from the train of, there was 5 runners that went with it, went with that like pretty crazy pace. And then there was about everyone else that for just a second lagged a little bit, and I was back there lagging. There was a big decision for me. I thought the biggest decision of the race was to immediately bridge that gap. I think in previous races, I have settled in back there and kind of went into the mindset of, let's kick for a medal. I know I have a strong kick, so like, let's go for bronze or whatever. And I've never got a medal until now. So right in that moment, I thought to myself, you have to go now or you're just going to regret this forever, which is dramatic, but it's like pretty legit. I would have been extremely upset if I was, looking back on the race and just didn't make the move there, because I can run 54 seconds any day of the week. It's just like doing that in the first lap is daunting. But when I break it down to like, well, I know I can run this pace for this long at least, so just go with it. Everyone else is doing it, just go. And that was the first really big decision. And then I guess the whole race strategy was just to respond to any gap or any move that has been made. And the rest of it is kind of, not as clear. It was just holding on and covering moves. And we get to 400 meters to go. And at that point, I'm pretty certain I'm going to medal. And for whatever reason, that helps me. I kind of forget about, how I'm feeling or whatever. And it was the loudest stadium I've ever run in by far. And so I'm in, I think, fifth with 400 meters to go, fifth or sixth. And I'm thinking, like I can actually get an Olympic medal. And I'm just still continuing on. And I get to 200 meters and I know I'm in medal shot. And then the last 100 is when that was like really, there was two decisions at that point to be made. And first one was, the inside opened up just for a second and I went for it. And as soon as I went for it, it got closed off, which in my head, I thought, okay, well, I know I can still get a medal. Like now, like let's kick for bronze or silver. I know I'm in medal contention, but I just got cut off. So let's just get there. And whatever it is, 5-10 meters later, I reassess and you see me step back a little bit. I kind of, had to break my stride, and it's hard to get your momentum back at that point, but I did, and somehow it opened up again. And in my head, and what I was telling my buddies after the race was that I thought I went around the outside and won. And it was actually an interview question after the race, and they're like, how did you just decide to go inside? Or what if the inside didn't open up? Do you think you could have still won? And I was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? And they're like, that you went inside. And I realized like I didn't realize that in the moment, that it was all just a blur actually. And that was pretty crazy going back and watching the race. And obviously like I've seen the race enough times to see like how I was thinking, how I adapt, but I don't know, that was just eye-opening to me as far as like how I've honed in my kind of instincts and tactics in the last 100 meters. But
I think people really could like make a change in their life here and now, that like once you do something you've never done before, you are that person. You aren't, it's not like it, you should consider it not a one-off. You should consider it like a character trait.
Another one that was just interesting watching the race was it opens up like where I can go through about like 60 meters from the finish line. And at that point, probably at 50 meters to go, I had won the race in my head, which was different. When I watched the video, I didn't get into the lead until 10 meters to go. I felt like 50 meters to go, I was in my head like, I can't believe this. But I still, watching the video, I'm like, I still had a lot to run and race. Quite a few things had to go right to get that result, but a lot of people watching were like, 3-second PR, like, that's like just insane. Like, you have to be like so shocked. And like, I wasn't really shocked at that time. I knew like, I was going to have the race of my life, but it didn't like blow my mind because I knew where I was at. And same with my coach. Like, he was like, I knew we had that in there. Like, just didn't know like when it was going to happen or what it was going to take. But the fact that it was me and my coach on this ride, and obviously it's just me out there racing, but it's like, that's the biggest component in the sport, the biggest variable that you hope to get right. And just like proud that I, executed the way that he believed I could as well. That's just like a great feeling.
What makes a good coach?
I think that differs for each person, but
for you, what makes a good coach for you?
I love my coach. Like, I think it's the perfect fit on our personalities, really. He's pretty stoic and, no frills, no extra stuff, and we're learning it as we go, both of us, because there's more and more stuff the more you advance in this sport. But we just really click on the fact of how we go about training, I guess, and it's 100% always, what do we have today? I think it's really easy to get carried away and lay out a month plan, and we'll be here at this time. We'll be able to run this time in 2 weeks, and we're just both like, it's all about today and what we do today.
Do you think that moment of like, I think I won, was a relationship between you and your will, or you against these other athletes?
Yeah, I think it was more the will.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I've said this before, but racing, when it came to the last 200 meters, I was racing just a race, which like sounds kind of corny to say, but it really was just instinct, and I wasn't clocking. Even in the prelims and semis, I was thinking, oh, I'm feeling pretty good running behind Josh Kerr right now. But there was none of that on the last 100 meters, and it was just like purely instinct. And yeah, almost like, like I said, I felt like I was meant to win that race.
Don't you think, though, that it requires like a certain amount of like preparation, obviously, and experience to be able to activate like in a way where you can be all instinct and where you can be will? Like, no, you can't just will, and you can't just have instincts. Instincts come from experiences, right? We're not born with them.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, do you agree that it's like it's a culmination that allows for the space to have instinct and will?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know it well, but you can't just have a natural ability and professional track and field and win races. You have to have all of it. And I think it's like 90, whatever, say it's 80% prepping and training and all of that. And it's 19% the physical or the mental aspect of it and getting there. And then I think that kind of stuff is operating in like the very small, that's like the very top of the mountain of learning, like honing the craft of running track. And it's like not something you ever have to worry about practicing, I don't think, but it's at like the end of the preparation, and there's so many things to do before that, which I would tell to people that are thinking, what should my mindset be during a race? I would say there's so much to do before that, and then you can talk about it and think about it.
Yeah, you can't. It's like you can't access that level of the video game until you've done the other ones.
Yeah,
like it's like a higher, it's a higher access point, and it goes beyond like general knowledge too, right? When you're functioning like you are, Our producer is Cole's teammate and a best friend, and he wants to know why you didn't cry.
Yeah, I was actually wondering the same thing. I definitely have like an alter ego when it comes to racing and what I can flip on race day, and it's definitely like going into like my most like kind of arrogant mindset is I don't want to be seen crying for sure at any level. But like, I mean, after the race, it's all over, but I think I'm still in that mindset of just, I'm still very conscious of, I guess, how, like, I'm still conscious of everyone watching, and I like to like put on my best face, I guess, but also there was just too much going on that I wasn't really processing it. I'm, pretty introverted, and so I like to internalize a lot of things, and honestly, I did get emotional, but it was like, I was actually like in the airport leaving Paris, and I was watching a video of like my high school reacting. And that's like, obviously it hit me, but that was like the first time where I like actually like welled up a little bit. And I was like like, damn, like, I don't know. I'm not like holding it in, but yeah, I just in the stadium, I'm all like revved up and I don't have time to think what just happened. I think that's the best way I could explain that.
Are there people that you look up to that feel like you feel when you're in your alter ego?
I've just always been a sports fan,
Yeah.
and when I was young, watched sports religiously and
Mhm.
got so invested in whatever it was. I'd live and die on every play of watching the Pacers game, and like I would cry if my team lost. Um, and I think at that time I couldn't figure out why I was like so invested, but now I see it as like I was just so competitive, and I can't control the Pacers game, but I can control running. Um, but I guess the reason I'm saying that is I'm a big fan of athletes and these great athletes like Mike Tyson and Tom Brady and Conor McGregor, and I would listen to their interviews and relate to it, and also just be like, I want to be in that position, and I want to feel that like after the fact of winning a championship. I want to feel what they felt, and so my way to get there is act like they acted, and um, not like I'm just mimicking them. I have these feelings, and um, I like to say I'm like very like cordial and not outspoken on against my competitors on the outside or to the media, but inside I pretty arrogant and I guess just like extremely confident in my abilities. And so I guess that's like the part that I try to access, and even if we're best friends off the track, it's like
Of
I
course.
don't want to think about that on race day, and so I'm gonna force myself not to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The confidence that you're talking about, you said something, you said, I want to feel what they feel. What do they feel? Is it an inward feeling, or is it how they make other people feel, or is it both?
I think both for sure, but more so the inward feeling of just like I Mike Tyson's such an intense example. If you've ever listened to just his mindset and interviews on when he was in his prime, and like it's just so crazy. He has this interview clip where he's saying like he's crying because he doesn't want that ego that he was in his prime of fighting to come out, because he's like if like it was almost out of his control, which is just like such a crazy mindset to be afraid of a version of yourself. So that just like blew my mind. And yeah, and he's like, he studies he has another clip where he says he studies the art of war and read all these books on just war. And so that's the only thing he studies. That's the only thing he knows. And he just, I think that just separates him from everyone else. And you have to separate whatever your personality is in real life and what you want it to be on race day and in the race. Because I think so much of it is subconscious, or it's whatever you practice, and you practice mindset just the same as you would practice racing and running. But if you practice it enough, it'll be subconscious. And I think if that sinks into your subconscious, then you're going to get on the start line and you're going to say, well, screw everyone here. Like, you're not my friend. I want to race you and I want to beat you and I want to embarrass you and I want to just destroy you. And just in the sense of racing. And if you can just tap into a little bit of that, I think it's going to have an edge on so many people, and like especially runners. I like to think I can take advantage of that because runners are so nice.
Yeah, runners are so
yeah.
nice. Well, that's why I thought it was so cool that your alter ego is based on other sports. Because I was like, yeah, those sports have more edge and more personality as a general, thing, right?
Mhm.
Like running can be quite shy and kind and buttoned up. It seems like it excites you to be on that edge of like, what could this alter ego like awaken in me that is like beyond my consciousness, like my everyday consciousness? Does it excite you?
Yeah. And I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, oh, you don't want to see my dark side.
No, it feels like it's you.
I definitely hate losing more than I like winning. Maybe not definitely, but I guess the lasting feeling of losing stings more than like the gratitude of winning. But
Why?
I have no idea.
Well, what does it feel like to lose?
Just like, I like to think I do everything right in my build up to races. I want to get to the line and say, I did absolutely everything in my power to win this. And hopefully, like, I guess if I did everything in my power and it's still not good enough to win on the day, then that's just a tough pill to swallow. But
Because you know you do everything.
yeah.
And that's really something about you that is so cool. Like, you put in the work. You are a student of the sport, as far as I know, and you put yourself in every position to succeed, right? There are a lot of athletes who actually sandbag a little bit so that when they don't, they have that to sit on. It's like a couch.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you don't have that, and maybe that's why it hurts.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you do it all, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, there's nothing to catch me.
Uh-huh.
And maybe that's why it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
But it's a better way to live.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm definitely happier knowing that I lost, that it was like nothing I could have done. It was someone else was better than me. And for whatever reason that is, but it's not my fault.
Yeah, it still hurt. It hurts in a different way.
Yeah,
is what I mean, right?
Yeah, I don't know which one's worse, but
yeah,
I mean, if it's 20 years from now and I can say, yeah, I just lost. I was at my prime and did absolutely everything right, but this guy was just nasty at running. And if I can get over that a little bit more than, I was 23, but I don't know. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't sleeping right. And yeah, that's probably why they beat me.
I once heard a story that Dina Castor, who had the American record for the marathon for a very long time, her coach, when he was going to take her on, he asked her one question. He said, "Do you sleep well?" And he didn't care about like her actual sleep. He cared that her conscience was clear. And I think like the ability to know that you're trying your best is like one way to have a really clear conscience, because there's no, like, if you're leaving no stone unturned, you can rest knowing you're trying your best.
Yeah.
And that is the only way to be the best, but it's the thing you can control. Cole, do you sleep well?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about your relationship with Centro and tell me about Centro.
Yeah, I mean, Centro is like, yeah, in my eyes, the GOAT of like American 1500 running. And I was 15 years old when he won the Olympics, and I remember texting my high school team group chat, just like, what just happened? Like, an American won.
Wait, you were in high school?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so young. Oh my God, you're younger than me. You're so young. Wow. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. With that being said, just like a role model as far as a similar thing of the great athletes that I was talking about earlier, of I wanted to have those feelings he had, and I can't even imagine what it would be like to win an Olympic gold medal, and just looked up to him. And it was a kind of a crazy crossover of, right when I was kind of coming up in college and really taking it to another level, he was also getting back into it, and he had been injured I think the 2020 year, and so 2021 was the Olympic trials, and that was just like just a year of just, for me, just all upward trending graphs on across everything and doing things I've never done before. And it was just seeming like one thing after another. And before I knew it, I was racing Centrowitz, and I was just, you know, just kind of one of those moments where you're competing against the icon that you looked up to growing up, which is always a surreal feeling. And, throughout that year, there was on social media, there was a manufactured beef of me versus Centro, and the fans pretty much kept feeding it, and the fire kept getting bigger and bigger. And Centro's got the same winning mentality. He doesn't like to lose, and he loves to win. So he was, equally just, taking part in it and looking forward to it. And it finally came down to it. A super hyped up race of the 2021 Olympic trials, because I'd won 3 NCAA titles, but there's a big difference between NCAA and professional running. And it was really my first go at like the big dogs was the Olympic trials. And going into the finals, I was still feeling really good and all this buildup. And I was a Oregon Duck at the time, wearing Oregon at the Olympic trials, and he was a former Duck as well. And so it's all these things that were just really cool. And then obviously we both raced the 1500, and eventually up until Paris, that was the best race of my life. And I won 2021 Olympic trials and just edged out Centro at the line. And that was just like incredible experience for me. And, I'm still like a college kid, like sophomore in college at the time. And I'm almost like, oh, like, sorry, like, I don't know, like how, like, hopefully he likes me, like, kind of feeling. And, but just the way he just like respects competition. And that was something I'll never forget. And there was actually just this really cool picture that someone got where we're looking at each other on one of the prelims, and I'm in Oregon, he's wearing Bowerman, and it's just like in Hayward Field. It's just like a really cool picture. So there's like that history there. And then just the fact that, 3 years after that, I can also win an Olympic gold, something that he was like the guy that did it, that put America back on the map for 1,500 meters. Obviously there's a few guys that were responsible for that, but there's only so many Olympic golds. And just watching that and thinking like, I hope to be, mentioned in the same categories as him and all of that. And just the fact that I can say that, it's pretty crazy.
And he seemed to inform how you approach competition too.
Yeah, definitely.
Like your competitors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was always like, of course, watching in high school, he had the coolest celebrations after races, and he was just like that guy when I was getting into the sport. And so, like, I think it's just a good example of like, runners have to be humble enough, like hit the celebration after the race, and you can be confident in yourself and not disrespectful. And I think like, growing up into the sport, I was trying to emulate that. And it was just having our careers overlap was just like pretty incredible.
You can be cocky and respectful at the same time. Yeah. It's amazing. And I'll admit to you that Centro has been my alter ego, as not as a runner, but as like a as a businesswoman. I was having like a lot of trouble like talking to like sponsorship partners, because they'd often like put me on the phone with like the person, like the CEO or the person making decisions. And sometimes they would like say really odd things to me. Like one person was like, could I camp in your backyard if I needed to? And I was alone on this call with this guy who headed this company. And I felt so uncomfortable because I was like, what is he asking me? Like, is he asking, like, am I that loyal to this company that he could sleep in my backyard. And at that point, I was like, I need to figure out a way to like approach business conversations. And I thought about Centro because I was like, would they be able to say this to him? No. Or if they did, he would have something charismatic but confident to say back where he would never let them cross like a boundary like that. So I started to pretend I was him in business conversations until it like became my own, right? And it was really helpful.
Oh, that's hysterical.
I know. And I told him, I saw him in Eugene, I think, probably around that year, or it might have been a year or two after, and told him. So Cole, now that you're the Olympic champion, what is your relationship to self-doubt?
Yeah, I think self-doubt is always going to be there. And on race day, I tell myself, how can I manage this doubt creeping in? I know it will. And if it's still doing it now, I've raced so many times and it's not ever going to stop. But if I can kind of tell myself, shut up, you've prepared, you've done everything you can, what is there to doubt? You've done all of the right things. And then that's something that I tell myself on race day. And then it's also something I can tell myself in practice and preparation of getting ready. Because I can say, on race day, you're going to be, doubt might be creeping in, but am I going to be able to tell myself I did everything? Or am I going to say, I sandbagged this rep, whatever it is. But I think that kind of mindset I started doing the past 2 years is like really helped me, because whatever reason, human nature, you're going to have self-doubt.
I kind of like how you don't just ignore it, and you don't like it, you actually say something back to it, almost like like asking it, telling it that it doesn't have a reason to be there, instead of acting like you could ignore it completely.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a really interesting and healthy thing. You're not like sitting for coffee with it. You're just having a quick interaction with it to acknowledge it, and then it can go away.
Yeah.
It goes away.
It doesn't go away fully. It's like what I'm saying is as much as I can manage it. If I can have 10 more seconds of I'm prepared, that's more than nothing. So
you're basically saying like all you need is for like the ratio of confidence to be like, you just need the level of confidence and certainty to be higher than the level of self-doubt. You can't make self-doubt go away completely. Yeah.
And I think like I wish it was that way. I wish I could train myself enough, but I don't think that's the case. And you hear like Safan Hassan, her post-race interview, she says it all the time, like just like all these top athletes still experience this self-doubt, and including myself. And so it's, what can I do to limit that?
Yeah, or treat it like a sensation, not a threat.
Yeah.
Right? Like if it's normal and if you know it's not going away completely, then it's almost just like you're doing like a theater with it, right? Like you're doing that thing you've done over and over again with it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's almost like it has levity. Like it's not so dark and serious because you knew it was coming. It's like it is the invited guest at your party.
Yeah.
You're like, I knew that you were coming. I maybe you didn't even invite it, but you're like, this is the guy that always comes to my parties anyway.
Yeah.
We all know that guy.
Yeah, everyone's got it. No, that's like the perfect way of
you know what I mean? You're like,
it,
and when it knocks on the door, you're like, here it is. All right.
Yep.
Come on in, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's like what I tell myself. It's gonna come regardless, so just at least be ready.
Yeah, be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it that I was gonna keep the metaphor going. I'm not going to give it a drink and welcome in. I love that. I'm really glad to be friends with you. It's really cool. So thank you.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying Mentor Buffet, follow Voicing Change for more inspirational and truly life-affirming content from shows like Soul Boom, The Proof, Feel Better, Live More, and the Rich Roll podcast. Just go to voicingchange.media. That's voicingchange.media for a beautiful selection of productive and positive shows.